Hello again, and welcome back to Will Henry's workshop. I am Will Henry. So I had just removed the barrel from the small bore silhouette action, stiller action, and we're going to be replacing that barrel with the Lilja barrel. And the Lilja barrel is quite a bit heavier than the original barrel, but it's fluted. And I can probably, well, let me spin you around here and I'll get that other barrel. This might be a little disconcerting, but. So there's the Lilja barrel sitting in the lathe, and this is the barrel that came off the rifle, and it's, like I say, substantially lighter, and so the shank, this is the reinforced section of the original barrel, is 1 inch, and so to start with, I'm going to turn down the corresponding section on that Lilja. Now I've weighed the Lilja barrel in comparison, and it's about 15 ounces heavier. So, but this blank is 28 inches long. This one's 25. We'll finish this at 25 as well. So, by the time I turn this down, I'll cut 2 inches probably off of this end, and then the remainder off the muzzle end, and we should come pretty close to weighing the same. So we'll see see how that goes. Now to turn this down, I just simply grab the muzzle end in the 3-jaw chuck. I don't know if you can see this or not. See if I can't zoom this in a little. Okay. So you can see I use a little piece of brass wire wrapped around the barrel to protect the barrel, and it allows it to align if there was any misalignment there. And anyway, and just grab it in the 3-jaw chuck, and then run the breech end is running on the tailstock center, and so we'll and I'll turn this down. I think I'm going to turn it down to 1.1 rather than just the 1 inch, and because I actually like to have a little more meat back here, just because it gives a more rigid support. But we'll see. Weight might be our constraint here. So I'm just going to back the lens up, and then I'm going to back the whole darn camera up, and we'll just we'll take a cut on here and we'll see what we get. Well, here we are back again. So I turned this Lilja barrel down to 1.1 inches at the breech end here. The original barrel is 1 inch, and I cut off 2 inches of that. And so the original barrel now is weighing, it weighs 3 pounds 6.2 ounces, and the Lilja barrel right now is 3 pounds 10.3, I believe. So now by the time this is a 3/4 inch thread, and roughly 7/8 of an inch long. So by the time I turn that and then cut, I've got 1 inch to cut off the muzzle. I think I'll end up pretty close to the same weight. And if the Lilja is still heavy, I have the option of turning that shank down to 1 inch, just the same as the other one. But I like them just a little fatter where the contact surface is. So we're going to try and go with this. And so that's all that's happened so far. Now what I'll do is I'll set this barrel up in the 4-jaw chuck to thread and chamber it, and then once that's done, we can check our weight again and see where we're at. I think we're going to be fine, but anyway, I'll get started on setting this up with the 4-jaw chuck. It'll just take a few minutes, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to let. Okay, there I've put the 4-jaw chuck on. That it takes about a minute and a half, and it's not that exciting to watch, especially when you consider that at least 30 seconds of that is spent looking for where I put the chuck wrench. But anyway, so it's on, and so I'll show how I set the barrel up for threading and chambering. And now I will necessarily be some kind of wandering around in a circle sometimes, but we'll do the best we can to show just exactly what goes on. So to do this, set this up, I use a piece of brass wire, which is actually a chunk of brazing rod. Slide that on the barrel, which appears to be easier said than done this time around. So with that wire in place, set that in the chuck and just kind of roughly center it up, and that. Now for the muzzle end, you can see, move you over here so you can see, and okay, for the muzzle end, and you can see how that brass wire allows that barrel to just flop around there, which is exactly what I want it to do. Now, an issue I have with this barrel, of course, is that it's fluted, and so what I've got to do, I've got 3 screws here to center this barrel up, and so I want those screws to sit on in between the flutes, and so we'll loosen up the chuck here. That I can hopefully get this thing set just the way I want it. Of course, now I'm just hoping that at a glance, I thought this was 6 flutes, and that seems to be the case. If it had been an odd number of flutes, I'd have had a problem. But if I do have an odd number of flutes in a case like this, I have sleeves that will go over the fluted section, and I can run the screws against those sleeves. But so anyway, this is going to work out fine. So now I can set up the dial gauge at this end, and now I turned the end of the barrel here so that it's absolutely concentric with the bore. So that means I can run the indicator right on that turned piece, and if that's running true, the bore is running true. And so I'm just going to see where I'm at now. And I'm shockingly close at this end. At the other end, I'll start out again just indicating the outside to get it close, and then I'll dial inside to get it running perfectly straight before I thread and chamber. It's running pretty well zero there. The muzzle end, now that I've moved this end, of course, now the muzzle's running out considerable, so we'll fix that. At least endeavor to fix that. There you go, that's pretty zero-ish. And the breech end's still not bad. So that's so now that I'm fairly close, I'm going to shift you around here. So now that I'm fairly close at the breech end, I'll swap out indicators here. And then I can dial in the bore, because of course that's where I'm going to be reaming. Now, different people, I think, have different ways of doing this as well. I indicate the top of the lands, and I know there are other people who indicate the grooves, and I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer there. I think based on results, indicating on the lands is okay, but I can't honestly say it's better, and I'm always willing to change my mind. Well, that's indicating about between 1 and 2 10,000ths of run out, and from experience I know I'm not going to get a lot better than that, so that's where we'll stop. So that's how it's set up, like I said, on the piece of brass wire so the barrel can pivot, and then dialed in at both ends, dialed in on the bore at this end, because this is where we'll be chambering, and we'll see how it goes. Now the next step is going to be to take some measurements. Now I could just measure this the other barrel, and I'll do so, but I'll confirm those measurements by measuring the action. And so we're going to do that now or soon. But actually right now, I think I'm going to break for supper. And then tomorrow, on the next installment, we'll be measuring and turning and threading. So we'll see you